Ruth, maybe I can start with you. Could you tell us a bit about yourself?
I've been an independent consultant, and I contract to various government or private organisations doing research for them. So that's sort of where I currently.
Oh, okay.
My current.
Currently, I'm head of school of the School of Applied Technology at the Bay of Plenty Polytech.
Can I ask you guys how old you are?
I'm 50.
I'm 53.
Okay. The Enzogenol. Can you tell me how did you first come across it? Where did you hear about it?
Well, I heard about Enzogenol from my father, because my father had been introduced to Enzogenol following I think it was following a bowel operation that he had had.
Mm-hmm.
He'd also had heart surgery some years previously, and he was very, very poorly at the time, and my dad just talked about it with me and with Mike, and spoke increasingly as the years went by where he was on it. He spoke increasingly highly of it and how it had affected his quality of life.
Why did you decide that you wanted to try it?
Well, I tried it out of sheer desperation, Matt. 3.5 years ago, I had a brain injury. What I do remember is just feeling very, very sick for quite a long period of time, and being extraordinarily tired, not liking lights and not liking noise. I do remember that really very, very clearly, and I probably remember it quite clearly because to this day I still don't like some of those things.
And did you go to the doctor?
Yes, went to the doctor that day, and he said, well, it looks like it's a concussion, stay off work, I don't know, about a week or something, come back in a week's time, and things didn't improve. And I was off work for 3 months, completely off work for 3 months, and was still struggling dreadfully. And I started back at work on a very, very limited basis. My job at the time was as an academic advisor, and so I was advising staff in the school that I worked in, which was the School of Education, Māori and Humanities. I was advising them about academic matters, and so it involved a lot of one-on-one and group interaction.
Right.
And I struggled dreadfully when I went back to work, because if I was in a one-on-one, I would tire very, very quickly. When I got into a group where I was needing to speak with a group of people,
yeah,
I simply couldn't hold the threads of conversation. You would say something, Mike would say something, and I would just, in the end, I tuned out. Because I couldn't follow what was happening. In that period of time, I had seen a neurologist, and I'd also seen a neuropsychiatrist, and I had been put on Selegiline. And initially the doses of Selegiline were such that I just got horrific headaches, absolutely, horrific headaches. And then we sort of got those right, and the Selegiline, it certainly helped. I think it helped, didn't it? It was.
Oh, you can see the improvement.
It was better. I mean, I used to, for a long period of time, I dropped things. I would just always drop things. The children, because I didn't remember anything, I mean anything, the children would write notes for me on little post-its.
Yeah.
And they would put post-its around the place, or I couldn't drive in this time either. I wasn't allowed to drive my car. And they would say, did you do such and such, Mum? I wrote it on the post-it. Oh yes, but where did you put the post-it? And I just, unless it was actually right in front of my face, I wouldn't remember. So that was sort of the extent.
So it completely abolished your ability to do your job entirely.
It was completely. It really, really, did. And I would just, if I sat down here, I would fall asleep. I could just go to sleep. I just slept and slept and slept, and so I, as a consequence, I got very, very afraid about what the future held for me, because as an academic, you need cognitive function, end of story, and I was very distressed about how I was ever going to be able to resume to the sort of normality of function that I wanted. An appointment was made for me to see a neuropsychiatrist. And he did put me onto he suggested further medication, which I took. I took the medication for 12 months all up. And then Mike and I went to England, and we were away for a month, and I was enormously tired. The travelling, because travelling really still affects me quite badly. And I came back, and just before we left Canada, which was about a week before we came home, I said to Mike, I'm not taking these drugs anymore. I'm not going to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And I stopped taking anything. And I came home. Mike talked to me about Enzogenol at that stage in cognitive, sort of what some of the initial findings around cognitive function. And I thought, right, I'm going to give this a punt. I want to try this. So I started taking 4 capsules a day, and really, really rapidly, within a week, what I noticed was that I could be in a room with multiple conversations that I was expected to participate in, and I was able to hold threads. And that ability to hold threads increased really, really rapidly. I was still tired from that, because I had to concentrate, and to this day I still have to concentrate far, far more intensely than I did prior to my brain injury, when there's multiple conversations going. But I can hold those threads. I can't hold them for the length of time that I could prior to my accident, but I can hold them. And so I'm no longer fearful, for instance, if I'm in an academic setting, I'm not sitting there not knowing what's going on anymore. I can follow threads. The other thing that I noticed was my ability to articulate really, really returned, because I'd got so fearful because I would tend to lose words, or lose my train of thought, and that can still happen when I get under intense pressure. But all the things that had occurred for the 15 months prior to going on Enzogenol, everything was hugely, hugely minimised. My lack of coordination, I've got my coordination back. That's something I've got 100%. The fatigue is something that still bothers me. But that's, again, in comparison to what I had been like and what I'm like now, there is no comparison. That's been enormous. And I know that when I went to see my neuropsychiatrist after I'd been on the Enzogenol probably 6 months, and in that year I put out 7 research outputs, and I told him, he just shook his head in utter disbelief. And my own GP is just, he just said, you defy what we would expect from where I was at.
So you're working full time again. You're working on a busy schedule again, and things have been getting back to pretty much normal for you.
I have a hugely busy schedule. I certainly don't work a 40-hour week. I work well in excess of that. I travel an enormous amount, and I present, at conferences and various fora. So it's very, very demanding work because it's very much in the public eye. And so certainly I know that I could not do that and be articulate in the manner that I'm now able to be. I know I couldn't do that without the Enzogenol. For me, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that where I am today is attributable to the Enzogenol.
Mike, for you, are you taking Enzogenol as well?
Yes, I am.
I mean, with a story like that in your family, you would of course try it out. But what do you take it for, or can you tell us a little bit about that?